This is the story of a college student's real-life nightmare, one that started with a seemingly ordinary roommate arrangement. It quickly spiraled into something dark, unexplainable, and terrifying. What you're about to hear is a first-hand account of a horrifying experience that left scars, both psychological and physical, that still haunt the storyteller to this day. My name's Mark. I was in my junior year of college when I decided to move into a small off-campus apartment. I couldn't afford the place on my own, so I started looking for a roommate. For a while, nobody responded to my postings. Until one evening, I got a message from a guy named Evan. He seemed normal enough, said he just transferred to my school and needed a place right away. We talked for a bit, and within a week he was moving in. The first thing I noticed about Evan was, well, he didn't say much. He was polite, but quiet. That didn't bother me too much at first. A quiet roommate is usually better than a loud one, right? But there was something else about him. I couldn't explain why, but from the very beginning, he felt out of place, like he didn't belong there. Within the first week, strange things started happening. The first night he stayed, I woke up at around 3:15 a.m. to the sound of faint whispers. At first, I thought it was just him on the phone, or maybe talking in his sleep, but when I got up to check, the apartment living room was completely dark, and his bedroom door was wide open. He wasn't inside. I remember standing there for a second, whispering his name, Evan, but no answer. Then, I heard a noise from the kitchen, like someone scratching their nails across the wooden cabinets. When I turned the light on, the sound stopped, and there he was, sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, not moving, not saying a word. When I asked him what he was doing, he just said, "Couldn't sleep." Then he got up and walked past me, back to his room. That was it. But I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling. Over the next few days, little things would happen that didn't make sense. Sometimes, I'd wake up with my bedroom door cracked open, when I was certain I had shut it. Other times, I'd find my stuff slightly moved, like my textbooks or backpack. Once, I woke up to find my wallet on the kitchen table, even though I had left it in my nightstand. But the creepiest thing happened about 2 weeks in. I had a Friday morning class, and when I got home around noon, I noticed something strange. Evan's door was open. Inside his room, every single one of his belongings was gone. His bed was made perfectly, but there were no clothes, no books, nothing. Not even a toothbrush in the bathroom. It looked like nobody had ever stayed there. I tried calling him, texting him. No answer. He just disappeared. That night, I was lying in bed when I heard the sound of the front door opening. My heart practically stopped. Slowly, I got up and peeked out of my room, and there he was, walking in as though nothing had happened. Same clothes, same blank look on his face, carrying nothing. I asked him, "Where the hell did you go? Your room was empty." He looked at me coldly and said, "I was here." That was it. No explanation. Nothing. I wanted to kick him out, right then and there. But part of me felt scared. Scared of what he might do if I pushed too hard. Over the next month, I started having horrific nightmares. In one, I'd be lying in my bed, unable to move, while Evan stood over me, whispering something I couldn't understand. His eyes would be completely black. But here's the part that terrifies me the most. I would wake up from these nightmares, only to realize I couldn't move. I was having sleep paralysis. And there, in the corner of my room, I could swear I saw a dark figure standing, every single time. When I described it to my friends, they laughed it off as stress or lack of sleep. But I know it was real. Then one night, things escalated. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I heard the scratching again. This time from inside my room, I shot up from bed and turned on the lamp. Nothing. But when I looked at my closet door, it was open. Just a sliver. Evan was standing there. In my closet, I froze. I couldn't even breathe. He just stood there, motionless, watching me with the most lifeless stare I've ever seen. Finally, I managed to whisper, "What are you doing?" He tilted his head slowly and said, in this low, monotone voice, "She doesn't like when you leave the closet open." I had no idea what he meant. I jumped out of bed and shouted at him to get the hell out of my room. He didn't argue. He just walked out. That very night, I packed a bag and stayed in a friend's dorm. The following morning, I went back. And once again, his room was empty. Like, completely empty. Bed sheets gone. Furniture gone. Door wide open. I finally called the building manager, asking if he'd seen my roommate moving out. His reply made my blood turn cold. He said, "You don't have a roommate. The lease is just under your name." I argued with him, saying, "That's not possible. I've been living with this guy for over a month." But he insisted. "You signed the lease alone. Nobody ever applied with you." To this day, I can't explain it. I moved out within a week, but the nightmares never fully went away. At random times, especially when I'm half asleep, I still feel like someone is in the room with me. Once, about a year later, I stayed at another off-campus apartment. On my very first night there, I woke up at exactly 3:15 a.m. The sound of whispering filled the room. When I turned, I saw the closet door cracked open just the slightest bit. And for a split second, I was certain I saw a man standing inside. I don't know if Evan was ever real. I don't know if I imagined all of it, or if something else entirely was happening in that apartment. But I do know this. Every time I walk past a closet door, I make sure it's shut. And I never, ever ignore strange whispers in the night. Because sometimes, what you think is a dream might not be one. If you made it to the end, thanks for listening. Do you think Evan was a ghost, a hallucination, or something worse? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you enjoy horror stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new one. Tonight's story is one that was sent in by a subscriber, a tale so disturbing that it still keeps the storyteller awake at night. This happened in the heart of Pennsylvania, a state known for its old towns, and, apparently, for its ghosts. What happened to our subject, Rebecca, begins as an ordinary experience, but quickly becomes a nightmare that no one could ever forget. Rebecca was in her early 20s when she landed the job she'd always wanted: graphic designer for a tech startup based out of Philadelphia. The hours were long, but the pay was good, and soon she was hunting for her own apartment. The city was expensive, so when she found a one-bedroom flat in the historic district for half the price of anything else, she pounced on it. The place was charming: high ceilings, exposed brick, dim but cozy lighting, and creaky hardwood floors that seemed to whisper old secrets. The landlord, an elderly woman named Mrs. Kendrick, warned her gently that the previous tenants hadn't stayed long, but she brushed it off as just city turnover. Her first night was uneventful. Rebecca unpacked boxes deep into the early morning, passing out with exhaustion in her freshly made bed. But things didn't stay normal for long. It started with sounds. At 3:14 a.m., Rebecca woke to low murmurs outside her bedroom door. Groggy, she checked her phone. No calls, no texts, not even background music playing, only the soft, rhythmic creak of floorboards in the hallway. She got up, holding her breath, and opened the door to an empty corridor lit only by the orange glow of a distant street lamp. She dismissed it as neighbors or settling pipes and went back to bed. But the next night, the same noises. Each time, at exactly 3:13 a.m., she tried to record it on her phone, Whenever she hit record, the sounds would suddenly stop, replaced by absolute silence. 3 days in, Rebecca started noticing little oddities. Her favorite mug appeared on the kitchen counter every morning, though she always placed it in the cabinet before bed. Picture frames on her desk were turned face down. The bathroom mirror would fog at night, spelling out letters that faded before she could read them. She told friends about it. They joked about ghosts and old building quirks, teasing her for freaking out. Rebecca tried ignoring it, convinced she just needed more sleep. But deep down, she sensed something was wrong. Things escalated the following weekend. Rebecca decided to have a friend, her older brother Dan, come over for a movie night, hoping some company would help calm her nerves. Halfway through the film, Dan paused the TV and cocked his head. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. It was the unmistakable patter of footsteps in the empty hallway. Rebecca froze, her heart pounding. Dan, ever the skeptic, grabbed a flashlight and crept into the dark. He found nothing, but he swore he felt something cold, like a breeze that didn't match the air conditioner. When they went back to the living room, Rebecca gasped. The couch pillows were all stacked in a tower, something she never did. Dan laughed it off, but agreed to stay the night. The creepiest part? At exactly 3:13 a.m., both siblings shot awake, hearing frantic scratching from inside the closet. Neither of them dared open it until morning. A week passed, and Rebecca's sleep worsened. Bags grew under her eyes, and her once cheery demeanor faded. Then, while cleaning one Sunday, she found a small silver locket wedged under the floor, molding in her bedroom. Inside was a faded photo of a woman, and the initials EM etched in the clasp. Desperate for answers, Rebecca brought the locket to Mrs. Kendrick, her landlord. The old woman turned pale and sat down shakily. "That belonged to Eliza Markham," she whispered. "She lived here over a century ago. One night, she vanished. They never found her body. Just traces, scratches in the closet, misty breath on the mirror, and the locket hidden where only she could find it." Mrs. Kendrick stared into Rebecca's eyes. "Most tenants last a week, maybe 2, before the nightmares start." Rebecca trembled. "What happened to Eliza? No one knows. But every woman who lives here sees her shadow." Determined, Rebecca decided to confront whatever haunted her flat. She set up cameras, one in the hallway, another focused on the closet, and a third in her bedroom. The first 2 nights, the footage showed nothing unusual. But on the 3rd night, Rebecca fell asleep, clutching the locket. At precisely 3:13 a.m., a blast of frigid air woke her. She saw with complete clarity a woman's silhouette in the far corner. Long hair, tattered dress. Rebecca couldn't move, paralyzed with terror. The ghost spoke in a raspy voice. "Why are you here?" Rebecca gasped. "I live here. Please, I just want to sleep." The specter's eyes glowed white. "My home was stolen. Find me. Let them rest." Rebecca screamed and, with enormous effort, lunged for her phone, snapping a picture. The apparition vanished. That morning, Rebecca checked her footage. All cameras had static at exactly 3:13 a.m. except her bedroom. The single image on her phone showed a blurred shadow, unmistakably shaped like a woman's face. Determined to solve the mystery, she dove into city archives and old newspapers. She learned that Eliza Markham was rumored to have been locked away by jealous relatives. Her cries for help ignored, she slowly vanished from the world. One chilling detail stood out. Neighbors from a century ago reported hearing Eliza's voice, asking for help, at 3:13 a.m., the time she was last seen alive. The next night, Rebecca decided to confront the closet, the focal point of every strange event. Armed with the locket, she forced the door open, expecting something supernatural. What she found instead made her blood run cold. a false panel at the back. She tore it off and found a tiny crawl space, filled with ancient scraps of clothing and a bundle of hair tied with ribbon, the final remnants of Eliza Markham. Scrawled on the wall inside were the words, "Find me. Let me go." At that instant, Rebecca heard footsteps thundering up the hallway. She spun around, facing nothing but air. Suddenly, the room temperature plunged. Her breath formed clouds as a spectral hand reached out from the darkness, brushing the locket in her palm. Rebecca collapsed, unconscious. She woke hours later in daylight, lying just outside her bedroom, locket still in hand. The crawl space was empty. No hair, no scraps, nothing but dust. That day, she called Mrs. Kendrick and begged to move out. The old woman nodded in understanding. Rebecca left the flat behind, but the nightmares never truly ceased. She still sometimes wakes at 3:13 a.m., hearing whispers and feeling icy cold creeping into her bones. That flat stands empty to this day, its windows watching the old city streets. And sometimes, local kids say they hear a woman's voice, calling for someone to find her. Was it just a haunting or something darker? Rebecca still wonders. If you enjoyed tonight's story, drop your thoughts in the comments below. What would you do if you found Eliza's locket? Hit that like button. Subscribe for more chilling true horror stories. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss what happens after midnight. The story was sent to me by a listener who asked to remain anonymous. I warn you, if you've ever lived alone or thought you were alone at night, this one will hit close to home. Set in a quiet suburb near Denver, Colorado, this is the true account of a haunting so intense that even now, years later, the witness refuses to enter an empty house after dark. It began in the spring of 2018. Our narrator, whom we'll call Sam, had landed a new job out of college and was thrilled to rent a spacious 2-story home in a neighborhood called Crow Hollow. The house itself was a steal, unusually large for the price. Some rooms were oddly shaped, and in the backyard stood an enormous dead oak tree. But the neighbors were friendly, and Sam quickly settled in, or at least tried to. Within the first week, the strangeness started. Each night, Sam would hear faint tapping from the attic, sometimes like gentle footsteps. At other times, a quick skittering as if something was darting across the old wooden beams. Deciding it was a squirrel or perhaps a raccoon, Sam brushed it off. But each morning, odd things kept happening. The bathroom faucet turned itself on in the middle of the night. The porch light, rarely used, would flicker at 2:09 a.m. every night, always switching off by itself 3 minutes later. Sam's phone alarm, despite not being set, would go off at exactly 3:14 a.m. More unnerving was the cold spot in the upstairs hallway, always lingering near the 3rd step. No matter how high Sam cranked the heat, that spot remained icy. About a month in, Sam woke one night, chest tight and paralyzed, convinced someone was watching from the corner of the darkened room. It was only a feeling at first, but as Sam's eyes adjusted, a tall shadow seemed to detach from the wall near the closet. It glided across the room, slowly bending over Sam's bed. Sam blinked, and it was gone. Breathless, Sam refused to sleep without lights on for the next week. But during the day, nothing happened at all. Over time, Sam started to notice figures outside at night. Once, there was a reflection in the vanity mirror. A pale woman, hair covering her face, lips curled in a grimace. Another night around midnight, Sam stood at the kitchen sink and saw a child, maybe 8 years old, standing motionless at the backyard fence, just beneath the dead oak. When Sam ran out, the child was gone, no footprints in the dew. Sometimes, footsteps ran down the stairs when no one was there, followed by laughter, high, mocking, almost gleeful. Neighbors began to avoid Sam's house. The mailman stopped delivering to the porch, tossing mail from the curb instead. The worst event began at 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday in June. Sam's friends were over for a movie night. Amid pizza and jokes, a loud crash echoed from upstairs. Checking the house, they found the attic hatch ajar, though Sam swore it was sealed shut for months. Sam's friend Mike peered up into the darkness and shone his phone light inside. He gasped. Inside, among the insulation, lay a child's rag doll and a yellowed photograph, 3 children and a woman standing beside the oak. Their faces were scratched out, and scrawled across the back were the words, "Forgive us." Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut, trapping Mike's hand. The group ran from the house, not returning until daylight. Shaken, Sam searched public records and old newspapers, uncovering a chilling local legend. In the 1970s, a family named Holloway lived in that very home. Their eldest daughter, Emily, vanished one autumn night. Soon after, her mother and siblings disappeared as well. Their father, consumed by grief, hanged himself from the backyard oak. Ever since, tenants reported odd noises, missing pets, and guests who knocked on bedrooms' doors late at night. No one stayed longer than 6 months. Things broke loose after that. Sam began receiving texts from an unknown number. Random digits, times written like 2, 9, or a single word. Listen. Cameras set up in the house always malfunctioned between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Sam would sometimes wake at the bottom of the attic steps, memories fuzzy, feet caked in dust. At least once a week, Sam returned home to find muddy, child-sized footprints tracking from the back door to the base of the attic stairs. It all came to a head late one night, as thunder rattled the house. The tapping began again, in the attic, growing louder, almost frantic. Suddenly, the entire house went dark, every bulb blown. From the attic hatch, light poured out, flickering as if from a candle. Sam, compelled by a fear that was almost hypnotic, climbed the stairs. Inside the attic, Sam found not just the dusty doll and photograph, but a dress soaking wet, muddy, with a name stitched on the hem. Emily. A child's whisper filled the air. "Can you see me now?" Slowly, a small, cold hand gripped Sam's wrist, leading him to the corner. Sam, in terror, looked down. There was a rope, frayed with age, looped and knotted. The temperature plunged. Emily's spirit appeared not menacing, but desperately sad. "Help us," she whispered. "He's still here." Suddenly, a heavier, darker presence filled the attic, a tall, faceless man. He roared. The floor shook, and the candle flickered out. Sam blacked out. Sam awoke in the hallway at sunrise, clutching the doll and Emily's dress. The attic was closed. Candles burned to stubs on each stair. Sam moved out within 48 hours. Days after leaving, Sam read a final text. "Thank you, home." Neighbors reported for the first time in decades, Crow Hollow House looked peaceful. Birds nested in the dead oak, and no new owners reported anything amiss. Sam has never returned, but sometimes, just before sleep, Sam dreams of a small girl's voice whispering, "You helped us." But not everyone leaves that house. What do you think happened in the Crow Hollow house? Would you have gone into that attic? Or would you have stayed far, far away? Let me know your theories and thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more true nightmares, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chilling tale. Sleep tight, if you can.